and some of my friends got tickets to the Sting concert.
Oh,
So we went down and Saturday morning I played golf with some buddies, and it was like hard to breathe. It was so hot, and of course it's dry, but it just felt like something's on your chest the whole time.
Mhm.
it's
The first time I went down to Arizona, I was like 8 or 9, something like that. And my mom loves telling this story because we didn't do a lot of vacations. So I get out of the car, like we've driven down to Arizona. I get out of the car and I'm like, it's like a blow dryer. And she's like, yes, all day, every day. Yes.
With no humidity.
I grew up in the White Mountains, like in the northern part of the state, so it's not quite. It's a little bit hotter than here, but it's not like Phoenix.
Not
We
roasting.
have mountains,
where everything's
yeah,
wavering
you
the
can
whole
get
time.
Yeah, you don't feel like you're just at night. It gets below 100. So
Oh,
Dad, how are you?
Finally made it.
Welcome,
I'm
welcome.
so glad. How are you? How have you been? Good. Busy? You still working 2 jobs?
No, I
3.
I
You're
used to
working
have
2 full-time
I
jobs.
used to
for a
have
while.
3, you're right, but no.
Cut back.
You want it to scoot up?
Yeah.
There's a little bar underneath right here that's.
Yeah, I had to feel around till I found it.
Oh, there it is, it's way too far. Now, I don't think I know you, somebody might. Be.
I'm Skip.
Oh, you're Skip, okay.
Yes.
Look, I
You're
like
Deb.
that's the name. Yep, that's right.
Yes.
And I'm Mariah. I'm the facility manager for the facility. So,
Mariah,
yep.
okay, did you
took
take
Lindsay's
Lindsay's
place.
place?
Yes, yeah, that's correct.
Great,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Okay, good.
I've been here for like 6, 7 months, something like that. So I'm
Yeah.
still a little green, but
Oh, I've been here for
I'm
20
enjoying
plus years.
there you go.
Looking out and doing, yeah.
I grew up in Orem, so I grew up with the old fitness center, the creepy track down. That was my jam. So having an update like
Kind
this.
of
is
miss
kind
our
of fun.
little sweaty gym. though.
Yeah, I
What high
get it.
school did you go to?
Timpanogos.
And it's-
I have my youngest at Timpanogos now.
Oh, there you go. I really liked it when I went there. I loved
Yeah.
it. Was a great environment.
When did you graduate?
13.
I had a boy in 7, a boy in 09, and then a son in 17 and a son in 19.
Okay.
And now one that'll be at 20.
Then I probably missed all of them being in
yeah,
the middle
yeah,
there.
in between, for sure.
Well, should we wait a few more minutes? Honestly, it's going to be Bryce is out today. He's at a girls' camp function, so he's going to be busy tonight. And then Marissa is out sick as well, so it's going to be a very simple
We're
meeting
stuck with
today.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's just us.
And we got the bare bones for today.
Let's bare bones it and get out of here.
Okay, I love it.
We'll get outside and enjoy some heat.
There you go.
That's what
I love
I'm in the
it.
ball field
Okay.
right after this. So.
Oh, geez.
I was just I'm so ready for Orem.
I know.
That's the truth. We haven't had warm,
Well, we'll have like one day and then it gets
and it's cold again.
But you get enough to like get excited about it, and then
Yeah.
the rain clouds roll in, and you get
Yep.
sad again.
Wow,
It's
you're
perfect.
bored. That's the tricky thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
My mom just had to put like little
Tents.
protectors
Yeah.
on everything to make sure it doesn't freeze over. Yeah.
My wife was doing the same to tomatoes
Trying to save them.
a week ago.
Check them
Crazy.
on the
Pretty
morning.
soon we'll be pulling them off. It's 95 degrees.
Yep.
Alrighty, well, Bryce asked us to go over just a couple like final budget things as we're getting close to wrapping up the fiscal year. This fiscal year will end on June 30th. We'll start the next one. A couple changes. There's only been really one change to any of the budgetary asks out of council and the mayor. The only thing that really changed was we are no longer going to be moving forward with a full swim team. That one got rejected and reorganized and refocused. And so we're going to move forward with the transition plan. And so we will, starting this August, start with a bronze level team. So it will be like an introductory Orem team under the UV rays levels and tiers, but it will be our kids and our swimmers, and they get to stay here.
Okay.
Which is one of the most important parts. One of the frustrating things is right now we have users in the UV rays team that are dropping off this kid at the BYU pool, dropping off this kid at the Provo pool, and trying to have their third swimmer here at the Orem Fitness Center. And so it's been a lot for parents to try and coordinate that. So we are going to implement a 3-year transition plan where we'll start with a bronze level. Next year, we're going to add a silver level team. And in the 3rd year, we'll add our gold level team. So it will be a few years of transition, but the goal is to build an Orem swim team. So then residents of Orem can just start and finish swimming here is the goal. So
What's the long, does that transition plan take us out of UV rays in
Mhm.
3 years?
the end goal is to be no longer under the UV rays team. And so for the first couple years of transition, it'll be Orem swimmers under UV Rays team, but we'll logo them. We're going to brand them. We're going to make them feel like they're Orem team, but it'll be UV Ray coaches, which are really great coaches. They're going to have,
For sure.
they're going to have really great coaches. We'll contract out the coaches. So it will be like a combination of the two for the first couple of years. And then in 3 years, we'll have phased out of the UV Rays team. It will be an Orem team, and UV Rays will still be able to rent lanes here, but we will be in control of the water, and we'll be able to say, here's what we have available for UV Rays to rent out, but we'll be able to put our swimmers in our water, which is really exciting.
And that's a priority to Orem.
Correct.
Is the goal.
Right.
Yeah.
And that seems to fall in line with at least all that I read, and I had meetings with Mike and Jen and others.
Mm-hmm.
Their whole goal is they've already gone through one transition,
Yeah.
drop Orem, move UV Rays. They didn't want to go through that again.
It was kind
So-
of really fast after the
Yeah.
last transition.
Yeah. So hopefully that transition, those swimmers that are in UV Rays now that are on the competitive end, it won't mess
It
up
won't,
their-
yeah, they'll get to continue to swim in the competitive realm. And as younger kids are entering their team, they get to decide Orem is convenient. I'll go ahead and just join the bronze level because I'm new and I'd like to swim in Orem, and it's the location that makes the most sense. And then with the transition plan, as those swimmers progress and get better, then they'll move on through the higher levels of our teams for the next couple of years. And then they'll be officially an Orem team in about 3 years. So we're excited about it. It's a good middle ground. It's taken a while to get there to this final version, feels like, but
yeah. Is
I was
there,
gonna say, we may need to catch Deb up a little bit.
a little backstory.
What age range is this? And then is this a city team?
It will be in 3 years. We were
Okay.
hoping to start a city team this
Because
August.
we haven't had one in the
Correct.
past.
We had a club
We had
team
like a
renting
club
here, and they
team
kind of
here.
folded.
And it was called OTAC, which
Last
is like
year.
an Orem swimmer
Oh,
team,
okay,
but
okay.
it was not coordinated or run by Orem Recreation.
Okay, so it's just a
In
higher
here.
level of organization.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that so that those swimmers have a goal, they have they have some,
Good competitive trajectory, basically. Yep.
and
And so we'll be building out over the next few years our own team
Right.
to having our
so
own team.
eventually we will have a team where
Correct.
we did it before.
Correct.
Our original plan was to do it, start it right now, while the other one left, before we got in with UV rates to do it. And then there was just some other discussion and some other
Mhm.
concerns that came on, and so that's why this is kind of the new
hybrid.
plan, a hybrid,
There you go,
basically.
a blended version.
Okay.
yeah. So,
Thank you.
so
To
one
catch up out,
follow-up question.
we're gonna go 3-year transition and then we'll have.
One follow-up question to that, is there a migration plan for coaching? Because one of the things I heard from the OTAC the Orem people, not OTAC, the Orem people under UV Rays was
Yeah.
that they had phenomenal coaches and their kids were really
Mhm.
thriving.
Under
in
that coaching.
Under that
Yeah.
coaching.
Mhm.
Is there a transition? Are we going to end up with some of those, or?
That's probably what will happen. It's not like a guarantee, but we will continue to contract out for the next 2 years, maybe 3 even, some
Mhm.
of their coaching. So it will be under the UV Rays terms.
Then
So
people can coaches can choose
I
where they
say
want to
really
go.
will fall to the
And then-
coaches to make that decision, if they want to stay with UV Rays or if they want to, hey, I'd like to kind of be ground level with Orem's club.
Grow with that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Cool.
so,
And I feel
or
like
we
we'll have a
can
little
hire,
bit of
that gives
both.
us time to
yeah,
look for some other,
and find a good head
potential.
coach. And so
Yeah.
we will not be moving forward with a full-time head coach. We will be contracting out UV Rays
Cool.
coaches for the
Cool,
first
cool.
few years.
I think that's
So
smart.
it
Plus, we're
will
not in a hurry to
also-
get somebody.
Yeah, and it will kind of help the swimmers themselves because it's what they're used to. And so they won't really feel the transition as much. They might have some fun Orem branding added to their team, but it's not going to feel like a brand new coach that they have to get used to or a brand new set of like assistant coaches that they don't really know. It'll be more similar to what they've experienced in the
I think
past.
that's a brilliant way to do it.
That's not a whole lot
Nice.
different than what the mountain bike program does right now, because Timpanogos has, at the high school, well, junior high and high school level, Timpanogos has a team, Mountain View has a team, and Orem has a team. But they're all under the OICA,
There you
Orem
go.
Youth Biking Association. Or cycling, OICA, Orem Youth Cycling Association. So each school has a head coach, and they have multiple coaches for different divisions, but they all meet together, they train together. The only thing that separates them is the color of their jersey at specific high school and junior high related events.
It allows them to do like inner squad meets
Yep,
almost, and then
So,
also
which means that a coach is more efficient if he's got 8 or 9 riders under him for that level than if he's got 2.
Mhm.
And they have 3 coaches for each school with only 2 riders in each. So I think this is an awesome way.
We're
to go.
excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna make the best of it, and it's going to be, the goal is to make it an easy transition for the residents of Orem. So the goal is to make it work for them long term, and long term I think it's important that we have our own swim team for residents of Orem, but this will kind of not have them feel like they're jilted from OTAC to UV rays back to an Orem team, something like that.
The confusion is,
Yeah.
they don't need.
Yeah.
So we're excited about it.
And any new swimmers come in that are from Orem will
start
go on that
Orem.
bronze
Uh-huh.
level and
Yeah.
just work. So
Exactly.
it'll be seamless to them too.
Yep,
That's
exactly.
awesome.
Yeah. So we're excited.
Are the race people okay with that?
Yeah, they've been involved in figuring out this solution. So one of their biggest concerns was losing out on pool space. And so during the transition, they will have, almost their normal pool space this first year. And then in the second year, when we build out our bronze and silver team, they'll go down a little bit because they won't need as much pool space because we'll be building out our next level. And so it will help them with the transition as well, moving to a realm where they can still rent pool space, but they won't have all of the lanes because we'll be using it for our own internal team, and they'll need less lanes because they'll be refocusing back to kind of Provo and the BYU area as well. So
They're okay.
How is that working now? Is it working well now? This pool space?
it's busy, but it's working.
Schedule,
So,
schedule.
yep, we've got, because Spanish Fork used to have a competition pool 50 meters, they no longer do. And so we are doing a whole bunch of UV rays right now, and it's busy. It's affecting kind of everybody. UV rays would like more space, and we're giving them as much as we can. Our drop-in swimmers would like more space, and we're giving them as much as we can. So it's busy, and really the only crux times are like 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Other than that, no stress. So just don't swim during 6 to 8. You're fine.
Now we're still doing the wall though, right?
That's the goal.
Okay,
Yeah.
to convert to
We're
the
in meetings
the
with
multiple
mhm.
25-meter lanes.
Yep.
Oh, super.
We're
Super.
setting up meetings with CEM, kind of the group that would be installing it with us to walk through what it looks like, how it affects our current commercial lineup. It would probably be a year or so out. Yeah, the goal is to get it implemented as soon as possible. So we're moving it along as fast as we can because it makes sense, especially with a transition plan, just to have more lanes would only really help us long term. So we're kind
Really
of-
help everybody.
Correct. UV rays, us, all of the above. Yeah. I think that covers my buckets. Any other questions? No?
So, and we've talked, I don't think anything that I'll share is brand new. I think most of the things we've talked about several times, but kind of our plan, we've talked about some turf options.
Yep.
Our initial plan is to kind of get some field management tools and help with some staffing so that we're ready to go with increased rentals. So I don't have Bryce's final list, but some of the things we've talked about are a newer field prep machine. It's called an ABI. Yes. All of a sudden I'm questioning one of those that it is a little bit more, not so clunky. The ones that we have right now that they do fields with are old Kubotas that are a little, they don't turn as much. You have to get off and manually switch the drag or the nail, what the different things. And so this just has hydraulic lifts and it's supposed to be a lot quicker, more efficient. And so one of those machines, we've talked about a turf tank, which is another expense initially, but does a lot better line painting, more precise. You can program it, walk away, go mow grass while it paints, come back. It's just a little turf robot that paints. Have you seen them?
The other day,
They're awesome.
I live in Orem, but we keep our horses in Provo.
Yeah.
This property's cheap. And I was driving down to feed horses the other day, and you know where Sunset Elementary is?
Uh-huh.
Well, on the north and east side of that is where all their field space is.
Mhm.
And they've got a few backstops and a lot of little
Yeah.
soccer kids going on. Well, I drove by the other day and there's a guy walking. He's got a machine going and he's walking like this. So I pull over and walk out to him. He's playing on his phone, but he has one of those automatic.
It's called a turf tank.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
There's other
So
brands
yeah,
now.
yeah. So it's paying the line. And I said, I thought he was controlling it with his phone.
Oh.
And he said, oh, no, it's already programmed.
He initially starts it with
Yeah.
his phone and then
He's playing on his phone like Instagram and rah like that, walking along with the machine. And I said, so are you walking to make sure it doesn't mess up? He said, oh no, that thing's more accurate than if I did it myself. And I said, so you're playing on your phone, walking beside this thing that's not required. Why are you doing that? He said, are you at the city? And I said, no, I'm not, because I don't want to climb on that other thing and mow. And but it validated that it could really be, you set up and get it running. while you're doing other things, and you can get a lot more work done on the field than 3 or 4 people would have to.
And that's what we're trying to go to, because we're trying to get these tournament quality fields and facilities, which will allow us to rent them out and get more people using them,
Yep.
more revenue, all of these things. And one of our biggest concerns right now is we're just short staffed. And even the staff we have are new and inexperienced. You know, they drag the ball field and pick up the drag right in front of home plate. So you got all the gravel
Yeah.
right there where you're
Still
gonna put a
holding
ball.
one
Yeah,
corner.
you know,
Yeah.
things like that. And so if what we're trying to do is find the tools and the equipment that will help to simplify and increase the level of the quality that we're providing, so that when we're ready to roll out, we've got all these fields ready for rental. Not only do we have the fields, but they're top notch.
Yeah.
The lines look great. The drag, you know, is efficient. You know, it has all the tools they need. They can do it quickly. You know, like you say, one person can go start that turf tank, come over and drag a couple fields, move the turf tank to the next, however.
Play the outfields, yep.
Obviously, the best technology is the best way to go,
Yeah,
and it's the most efficient way to go, and it's probably the best way to go. Is more cost effective over time.
so we've been used, and so one of the challenges obviously is funding, and so we've kind of taken a multi-level or multi-pronged approach to how we're gonna fund this. I mean, we have care tax dollars, we have CIP dollars that we've allotted for field improvements. It might not be a machine specifically, but field improvements. We actually met with the Utah County Travel and Tourism Commission. I'm not exactly sure of his title, but the commissioner of he's an employee that reports to the commissioners, county commissioners. And we just talked to him about, because one of the things we'd like to do is approach the county travel and tourism dollars and have them contribute, because if we're bringing in tournament teams to tournament quality fields, there are tournament dollars that benefit
The
the
ripple
county,
effect,
the
yeah, for sure.
hotels. They have I can't remember, the room tax per person, and if they can attribute it to a soccer tournament or a baseball tournament or something, they give a few of those dollars back in revenue to help to improve what we've got.
So that only helps funnel the cycle of being able to keep your fields up to date because
Yep.
you're getting revenue because
And that'll want people, and we talked with him about, what are some of the requests that you get? They get a lot of requests, especially during COVID. They got a ton of requests, like out of California where people weren't playing, but just all the time. There's not a lot of huge rugby tournaments around. That's when Lakeside Park would absolutely be able to host. Or and granted, we're not a 24 field complex like soccer field that Provo's putting in. We have 8 competition. We recognize we're not going to be the 300 team tournament host. We still can get some pretty good quality teams, and if we have the best level fields, we're still going to get a lot of demand here. So up in Salt Lake County, there's the RAC, and they have, I don't remember how many fields, but a lot. They can host big events. Provo's bringing in a park on board, or a facility on board that has 24 fields, and I think they're still a year or two out, a couple of years out probably.
regional sports complex.
But they, there'll be another big one, but I think we'll still have between, Lakeside Park and Community Park or City Park baseball fields, we have 10 or 11, 12 good quality baseball fields, or adult softball fields, once they're turfed, or doing some turf on our soccer field and putting some lights on them will be life-changing. In Utah County, there's no turfed lit soccer fields.
Yeah.
So that's really what we've been working on, and I think the final budget has been approved, and it's a tiered approach. We won't do everything all at once. We talked about turfing the soccer fields first, and then lighting them, and then turfing the baseball or the ball fields. And the nice thing about turfing Lakeside Park, we would have different dimensions. So one day we could play adult softball, and without having to move bases or drag, you can move it to 14U baseball or whatever. So
For sure.
that's kind of where we're at with programs and field rentals. We're excited. I think I get so many requests for people wanting to come and use our facilities. They recognize the quality. And this will just allow us to accommodate more, not all of them, but more of them on, and like we said, our goal is to have some really good tournament quality facilities and get the staff the tools to be able to maintain those.
Awesome.
That's where we're at. It kind of, it's an exciting time to be in recreation here in
I
Orem.
agree.
Absolutely.
Great. That's
Good things on the
awesome.
horizon.
Yeah, and if the funds are there and available, there's no reason not to use the technology,
Yeah,
implement the technology and utilize it to our advantage.
absolutely.
Oh, gosh.
Well, and in the
That's
long
great.
run, I think a turf tank, let's say, is $50,000. That seems like a good chunk of
That's a
money.
big
It is.
upfront, yeah.
But if you look at how much you're paying in staff wages every single day to do all those things, it adds up too. And
And
eventually,
what
And the lines
And-
are-
and the lines are precise, and when we don't have staff, we can still paint our lines or whatever. They can,
Or you can double your
multi-pass,
efficiency
yep.
on that staff hour to have them set it up.
And if
something
we
else.
have the increase in interest, it's gonna be increase in tourism, people from out of state, out of town. It's gonna, yeah, it's a benefit to everybody.
we have some great restaurants and hotels here in Orem, some really great amenities that I think bring people here. And so I think we can work with those people and the county as a whole and our facilities and really make a difference. So,
I have a question about parks.
okay, yeah, absolutely.
It's got more on the.
We may or may not know the answer, but.
We're gonna
you can
try,
Hey, we
though.
can
We're
make
gonna give it a
stuff up
shot.
there if it sounds good.
Yeah,
We could vote on it and tell Bryce, sorry, that's already passed.
Yay,
There,
nay.
yeah.
okay.
Playground.
Uh-huh.
There's pieces, a new play
Structure,
feature
uh-huh.
that's sitting there for 3 months. in the parking.
Oh, wow.
One piece got drug over in the center of the parking playground area. The rest of it sits in the parking lot. And zero movement. When is it gonna get installed?
That is a really
Why?
good question.
Why? Is it, are they waiting for more pieces?
I don't know, but I will find out. and
Labor?
It
let
might,
you know.
it might
Summertime
be
is a
labor.
great season for people to be at parks.
My guess is that there's something missing, a part or something. But I'm gonna find out and I'll send you an email with the answer.
A little
I'd
weird,
see it
yeah.
Little by little.
I haven't been
being
to Sarah
installed.
Park, I've been to the pool, but I haven't looked at the park. So
So you've been sunbathing but not playing.
well, it's like cold,
She's just hanging out over there.
all day, every day, nothing to
Uh-huh.
do.
Like today, it's, in my book, it's not hot.
Not yet.
Today's like the first day, maybe.
Yeah.
We've been busy over there. It's already been packed a few days over there. People are anxious to just, yeah. Those kids come out just chattering a little bit.
I'll get you an answer out. I don't know, but I will follow up.
That's just the one thing that I.
Yeah.
I also know
Because
the
we-
last I heard, they were still at like 40% of their standard seasonal
Yeah.
hires for the year. So
But
They were-
hopefully that's a priority though. I mean, if
Yeah.
you've got the pieces,
you might as well
You're gonna
push your
lose
bodies
people.
that
I
way.
don't know who's installing. There might be, you know.
Might be contractor.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Parks guys. I will find out and get back to you.
That park was fabulous, but
We have, you know what,
The
the
grass,
full-time parks crew that we
trees.
have,
everything was just.
especially because they're shorthanded, are phenomenal. They work so hard, they work so many hours. And right now, when they don't have help, they still, I feel like they're still maintaining
Mhm.
near the highest quality.
I always think
I
it's
hope it
kinda
goes on
sad.
all summer, but
You know, we bring in that big festival for it.
around the July 4th, the
And,
Prize of Freedom.
Mhm.
There's the prize of freedom people, of course, those people who do yours now, you've got colonial heritage people, you've got
Oh,
military people. And it's like, for a whole week, we don't water the grass. And the people trample all over.
shots to that grass.
And then it's just like, so beautiful. But you know what, you throw some water on it.
It
comes back.
rebounds. They work hard, they do. Along the line of, was there any other
That
questions?
was my main question.
Okay.
I don't know. I rode on my bike
Good for you.
and I thought, I'm going to Iraq. Good weather to ride my bike.
There you go.
And I had bike lanes most of the way, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
It
You
is.
guys don't have anything to do with bike lanes striking in the city, or is that part of?
It's part of the streets crew that do that, but it's part of, there's a city group that,
I imagine they're
determines
continually
which ones are-
improving,
Mhm.
adding to that, but I thought.
Good.
I mean, it took me maybe, what, it should have taken me 6 minutes to get here, and I took,
Doable.
it's not bad at
Yeah.
all.
car versus bike, it's like, why not? Anyway, so you got.
One other bit
things
of
on the
information that might be of interest. So in the past, the CARE tax was split 50-50 with cultural arts and recreation. And two of the biggest cultural arts recipients of the CARE tax dollars were the Sierra
Theater and show.
Theater and then Hale Center Theater.
Yes.
Well, you all heard that Hale Center Theater has announced that they're leaving Orem. They are. And
Somebody
so,
wanted to
I
build a
heard that.
theater.
yeah,
doTERRA, yeah.
somebody's building, helping them. But I don't know where we're at in the final, but one of the asks to the committee was to reallocate the way they do that. And so instead of doing 50-50, they want to do a third and do a third parks, a third sports facilities, and a third cultural arts.
Oh, that's cool.
So I don't know exactly how that will lay out. And that'll probably be on the ballot, but it's nice to know that they're looking at parks and trails separate than sports facilities, so we can still do some really cool things, some nice upgrades in the playgrounds, those kind of things at our parks. So
Do you know if the splash pad is down?
It is,
was taped
they're-
off when I saw it this morning.
they had a leak, they had to dig it out and fix it, and they have to wait for it to cure. It will be back online Monday. They were hoping for today, but I think, talking to Jim, the supervisor, it should be back online
I
Monday.
just happened to drive by and
Yes.
I saw the yellow tape.
Yeah.
They had a leak.
It's kind of bad timing. This is the time where everybody's trying to, uh-huh.
But that's when the leaks come, so.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever a good time for a leak, but this
No,
wasn't
Is
it.
Bryce taking
December?
vacation out? Sick?
He's at girls'
It's at
camp.
girls'
I think we
camp.
heard.
tonight.
That's not quite vacation.
I don't think
No, it's
so.
not. That's double work.
Yeah.
Now I'm really. I'll start.
Sympathy.
Yeah, sympathies. is
Oh, I'm
good.
sure he'll make it a good time.
Yeah, you'll be fine. All right.
What other questions do you have? Anything else?
I think it's awesome.
Tell Bryce you guys should run the meetings more often. Go faster.
Amen.
We accomplished.
We'll get it. Yeah.
Well, hopefully
You need
that's
more
helpful
You
information.
need more from us. And what is the most valuable thing to you for us? Is it just accountability? Like you got to come talk with people or keep things rolling, or?
It helps me to have like anticipated questions and conversation. Like you guys come up with concepts or questions that I might not have thought through in the conversations we're rolling with, because we talk with a lot of what seems like the same groups over and over and over when it comes to coordinating. So it's helpful to have third-party perspectives with your own experiences and expectations to really dive into some of the nitty-gritty and figure out what might be the tougher points of the conversation or what seems to be the best version of the conversation. So it helps me to just be able to talk it out a couple
probably
times.
validating your decisions. Like you just, you and how to go about these teams, about your swim.
Yeah.
You lay that out, and it's probably good to run by us or anybody else, just to validate that you're thinking on the right.
Yes, it sounds like a good idea, or
And
no,
other
it's
people,
crazy.
right.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly it. So we've talked the last few months, a lot of our meetings have been about the co-sponsors, like how to change the way we allocate fields and what's really co-sponsored versus, or rec versus not rec, those kinds of things. And this committee has been invaluable in their, because you all have experience. You know, Alan's coached with us for a lot in our rec programs, but he's also probably been involved in some of the more competitive types of programs. Same thing with Skip. He's been involved in, and all of those things, you know, Danny Miller and his experience with OTAC, he was one of the initial people on that swim team. So he had some really valuable experience for
An insight.
how it started and what it would look like if we did. And so when we go to the city council and say, this is our proposal, it's not just, oh,
Debbie
or,
thought of it in her
you know,
office.
Mariah thinks that she can run her own swim team better than men.
Right.
What we're saying is, no, when we talk to our advisory committee, which includes Danny Miller or these, you know, these people.
Yep.
It's valuable and well thought out and experienced insights that
So it validates
And
everything
better-
we're doing.
With
And better
realistic
representative
timelines.
of the constituents.
And I'd say, and it really is, you represent the community. You're out at baseball fields, you're out, you know, riding your bike
Yeah.
and at parks and at the fitness center and these kinds of things. And so when we say these people on the, I mean, it's strategic in how we try to get people that have some interest in rec and a variety, a baseball guy, a swim person, you know, all of these different people to come so that we're representing the whole of recreation and trying to get a true citizen opinion or advice on what we're doing.
With realistic and, you know, real touch points to the
I know
the
how
communities that
many
we're
people
trying
come to
to
the
service.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, the other thing I think
Not-
our committee can help in is hot topics that are important to folks in Orem, but they may not know how to get a voice
Mhm.
at Orem City. Like, for example, the swim thing. Like a year and a half ago, my business partner has a son was an OTAC and doing quite well. And then it went to UV Rays.
Mhm.
They thought it was into the world. That ended up being okay because most of the OTAC coaches went over there anyway. And now he's doing really well. And the thought of having to go back, it was in panic mode. His wife called me like in tears. I didn't know a whole lot about it. So I called Dave. We talked a little bit. Called Bryce. We talked a little bit. Come to find out, a guy that I've done a lot of church related things with was big in OTAC and has kids in UV Rays, Mike. And Jen, who's also in both, she and I are mountain biking together. And so we were able to sit down and talk about stuff. And then I share with Bryce and Bryce meets with her. Anyway, I just think us getting out in the community and riding your bike and stopping and asking people, I think we can be a great resource for you city folks that are really tasked with what you're taking to city council and all the feedback.
That's exactly what it is.
Here's a couple of comments.
Okay.
One, my kid did the Orem youth soccer races.
Okay, good.
Whoever runs that, we kept getting younger and younger reps. I don't-
Welcome to
I
our
think
reality.
labor-
That's-
Welcome to
I
US
think
youth
labor,
sports.
I understand.
Sports in
labor.
general,
Yep.
adults too.
There's parents who just kind of have to
Yes.
say, what was that whistle for?
Or
Oh,
did he
was
even
that
blow his
really
whistle?
good? Was it watching?
Yeah.
So,
It
but-
is.
but it was generally a great season.
Good.
Number two, you
Wait,
talk
before
about-
you move on, let
Yeah.
me just share some thoughts. OI baseball, same thing. We've had to go to younger and younger refs. Primary reason is refs take such abuse from parents and coaches. It's hard to get them to sign up. This year in high school
Mhm.
sports in the state of Utah, third to the last week of the season before state playoffs started, they were canceling varsity games because they did not have enough umpires to cover all the games in the state. And they had to go through and look at, like, to cancel a game, you had to figure out, okay,
Is this
the
gonna
seat,
affect
the
playoffs?
seeding of state playoffs going to be affected by that game? If it was no, they went to the list of
Cancel.
possible being canceled. And there were like 40 or 50 games in a 3-day span in the state that were canceled. And that's the High School Athletic Association and their officials because they didn't have enough.
That means mid-season officials were like this. With the,
Yeah, they
yeah,
did things,
yeah.
they did things like first time and at least as long as I've been around high school sports, and I've got 5 older kids. My oldest graduated in 2001 from Mountain to the range I'm in. First time I've ever been in a varsity game that only had one umpire behind the plate
Mm.
trying to call bases from 90
Mhm.
feet out. All JV and sophomore games only had one official because they didn't have enough to spread around.
Most of my summer this year has had one official.
Yeah.
Or
And
you.
sometimes I have none or myself.
Yep.
And
Speaking of which, tonight Debbie is
I'm
headed
headed out,
to,
so-
yes.
Hey, Debbie, don't feel alone because
no, I
at least one night a
that's
week,
what
I'm
I'm saying.
behind
That's
a.
a very valid point.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
It's
and
far
the-
spread
I talked to
too.
the guy at Salt Lake County that runs softball up there and had like a 40-minute discussion just yesterday. And where we're headed is not sustainable for anybody. High school, college sports will be hurting. That's
So what's the solution to that though?
Tell parents they're not invited.
Well, my solution,
Sadly enough,
what I would
Is it
like
a
to do
parent
is,
issue or is it a labor?
it's part, there, I think
there's
there's
a
not
labor
just
thing
one
happening,
thing. There's
yeah.
a lot of pieces. What I would like to do is approach the high school, because it will benefit them, about offering some sort of officiating training in the high school classes, especially if you're taking football class and when football season's over, those kids are in weights. Well, maybe one day a week work on baseball or basketball officiating or volleyball or something. So in the off season, I mean, they don't want to ref football while they're playing football. They don't have the time or the energy. But in the off season, most of those kids could go out and do wrestling or basketball.
Tap into another
officiating,
sport.
But they need some training. And so if the high school would help with the curriculum and providing that opportunity, even if you got 3 or 4 kids from every high school in the state,
that'd be worth it.
wouldn't it?
Mhm.
And it would, you'd start to see some younger people get into officiating.
And tell their friends too. That's the other thing is
So,
they
well,
all have
yeah,
a friend or
we're
two that
working-
wants to go do
and
it with
the rec
them.
department, the support that we can be is provide those training, those initial training opportunities. They're not gonna start high school right away, but they could come do our junior jazz leagues and get some experience. And then you know what, you're pretty good, why don't you do some travel ball? And, or come and you can do Orem Youth baseball, and you're pretty good. How about you do Monday Night Lights? And then you can do
Yep.
some of these tournaments.
Yep.
And try to get them to progress where they have someone who can mentor them. Some of our old experienced people can mentor them and move them through the ranks. And I think that will help. I think, you know, obviously we want to make sure that you pay an official appropriately, but you know, they also need some support and some coaching and some training. And I think it's going to take everybody on the same page. That's my solution, and I don't know how to make that work, but that's
Well,
what
I
I'm
think
working
that's tied together with some kind of incentive. You know, that'll motivate them enough to jump in. So if there's some incentive, even at the end of the term, they're mentoring.
The other thing that to go along with what you're saying, what we did for Orem Youth baseball is we went to the 3 high school coaches, Bo McCoy at Mountain View, and Carl Hermanson and Kim Nelson at Timpanogos, and we said, hey, you've got underclassmen that know the game, freshmen and sophomore in your program. When baseball season ends, we need some of those kids to come down and umpire. And this year we got a few kids, but all 3 coaches promised us next year we could have more of those kids because they know the game better. That's better than getting a 14-year-old that played for 2 years but doesn't really know the game. I don't know if soccer coaches or softball coaches would do the same, but
I reach out
that's-
to them every year, tennis,
yeah,
basketball. I mean,
that's helped us
that's
a
who
lot.
that's where we get a lot of our officials from the high school
Yeah.
sports teams.
and a chance they can make a little money. Anyway, I didn't mean to divert you
No,
off here.
You're fine, that's great. It actually shows that there's a real issue there. Not just from a comment. If you're going to buy this cool device that paints fields, you also could put it in turf. Paint turf.
No, but we're not. We have about 17 baseball, softball fields in
You know, we'd
Orem,
never go turf.
and 5 of them would be turf. So we still
So
need
that's
it.
not it.
We have
If
Hey,
they
if
probably
you
work
30.
on-
if you wanted to add 6 city center fields,
Well,
we would be all in
we've
favor.
talked about it, but it's not.
You have better revenue generation.
It's a little bit expensive to do, and so we'll probably, you know, depending on what kind of revenue
For-
we can
for sure,
make.
for sure.
But then we have, I mean, 20 or 30 soccer fields, and only
Those are-
2
those
of them
are-
will be turf initially,
So
so,
when you're talking turf,
Yes.
you're not talking wholesale.
no, they're
That would-
very
that would be
expensive.
costly.
There's plenty of grass to be painted. Now,
Correct.
anytime they all go turf.
Absolutely.
Got it.
If
We'll
we
wear
can,
this
we can go
machine
all-
out before we all
If
do
it's a
it.
good-
Fine with comment.
Okay.
It's just, you- Altogether, playground, it's so heavily, things you prepare.
Yeah.
Is that, how does that pay for, keep that up?
A lot of it comes from our general fund.
Because it just seems like sometimes it's like, well, that's out of commission for the whole.
Hmm.
next year.
Hmm.
I don't know the details of it, but my best guess, like any playground I mean, donations went into providing and helping
Now
us
we
build
gotta
it. And now we have to maintain it, and it probably just got absorbed into our general fund dollars. And as we can,
Wouldn't that be the same fund that the maintenance here at the gym?
Are we making bank on this? This place gets used.
We're making
I don't think.
decent money,
but do we
yes.
use
We
all
are,
the money
we are
that-
making we're exceeding our projection.
And does some of the extra allow you to do some things outside of this building? Or is it like, no, those monies have to kind of be?
The monies for this facility and the Sarah Pool are shared and they take care of each other. And so overages from this facility will go into a capital improvement fund to benefit this facility or the Sarah Pool in the future.
Okay,
help
so,
with-
so expansion or.
Or
Correct.
to replace, you know, if all of a
Correct.
sudden in 5 years, we've got 30 bikes that are out or something, we'll have a bank account that we're not
Correct.
sitting waiting for a year to replace them. We're hoping that we can build our own, with our old facility for years, we had our own CIP, and as it got older and more run down, we ran out of
Pulling
dollars.
from it quite a
And
bit.
so we're kind of
So
getting
this
that
is a
built
good
up.
year and we're setting this
Yes,
aside.
correct.
The bad years.
It's your plan for your 5-year and 10-year where things start suddenly, the use is incredible also. We're making a lot of money because there's a lot of people here, which means the things are gonna start breaking
Wear out
at some
quicker.
point in a minute. Yeah, so.
It's gonna be
But-
higher.
but to your point,
Yeah.
Maintenance.
The difference between this and the Altogether Park is Altogether Park doesn't generate revenue. So the only way to repair that is pull out of the general fund. Or
Mhm.
we could look at, can you go out and get sponsors that will hang a sign on the outside of the fence and donate money just to promote their business, especially if it's something related to the purpose of the park. But
Yeah.
it doesn't generate funds on its own.
Or
So,
if it needed to have some larger upgrades and the transition happened where we're splitting care tax 3 ways, then maybe it could in a year or two ask for a big benefit from care.
That more dollars would go
Uh-huh.
towards that. And I think that's one of the reasons why they want to do that 3-way split instead of 2, is they feel like the parks, I mean, they don't generate, I mean, they have rentals, but $50,
$50 a week.
$100, that
Yeah.
doesn't cover,
Yeah.
you know, they've rebuilt multiple bathrooms. We've had a lot of vandalism in bathrooms at parks this last couple of years.
I-
Horrible.
Place, that is sign
Horrible.
of the-
Yes.
Yeah.
Pavilions.
Like, and I-
Probably wasn't the only one that weekend.
Pavilions
too.
have had to be rebuilt, the same thing. Some are just aging, but some have been vandalized. And those are things that there's not revenue generated to keep replacing and
to be
repairing.
self-sustaining.
Is there a
And so-
solution for that?
Well, one of the solutions, and it's an expensive thing, is they've tried to put more and more cameras in parks. So that they, you know,
Is that deter? Or do- is that
It's
variety?
slight deter, but also it's preventing from recurrence. So they're able to use the video footage to catch somebody. Hmm.
but you can't always.
It's not perfect,
I mean, a
though.
lot of it is just,
You know where the old Carterville Road is? Goes under Center Street. I know that's.
well, there's a little bit of it that's on Carterville.
You mean the little bridge thing underneath?
So the Center Street goes down in the,
Uh-huh.
that bridge, the old Carterville Road. goes down.
Mhm.
I run there. I run
Yeah.
through there all over the years. It's just interesting. Lights, some cameras go in, light gets damaged, the cameras get smashed. I mean, it's just like,
It feels like
it's like, wow, how do you, I don't know.
it's so
It's a
frustrating.
societal thing, but even the things that, like, can you put fake cameras in so you're not spending too much money on the real ones, so people just think they're okay?
But then if they know that it's fake,
Right.
you know, then what
They
good
figure-
does it do you?
they
Because you're not
figure
getting, the deterrent, yeah, it is a catch-22.
And
And I
not
don't
having
know,
bathrooms. Simply. That's tragic,
it is.
especially for kids.
Because it only takes away from the users that are trying to do it correctly. Like it only
They're the ones
affects.
who lose.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Maybe we just need to outsource to Honey Buckets.
And some of them that have
They
been
have-
severely damaged,
correct.
that's what they've done. I mean, they
What is
have
the primary-
enough construction, they'll just bring in a couple of portables and, yeah, well,
I have 15 minutes to clock in at the hospital, but what's the primary, what is the primary, what's the primary damage done? What do they vandalize the most?
They've taken off soap
They
dispensers
pull
or
sinks off the wall, they pull toilets off the wall, they break it.
So you can't
it's
even-
not like somebody
you
Some of
writing-
them you can't even reuse, they'll take a
No.
hammer and crush the sink into pieces. So then they started using stainless steel, but it costs a lot more
Yeah,
to buy the stainless steel, so then they'll just bang on them till they're dented and I mean.
Damaged.
It's completely just
it's malicious.
malicious intent to damage.
Honey buckets are no fun to vandalize, I'm sure you're right.
But if you
But it's
see them,
so
we
uncomfortable.
have one over here and they tip them over.
Yeah, they
I
tip them
mean,
over because they
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's
they
funny.
think that's.
Yeah, and then you have, nobody can use it. It's a mess inside. Yeah, it's a frustration that never.
That's something.
Conceal carry, that's where you sign.
What other, did you answer all of your questions?
That probably
Keep
gets
going
into
on.
more societal challenges that this group is.
That's my favorite,
All the
for sure.
discussion. I do have to scoop them guys.
Yeah, you're
So-
okay.
Yeah,
You're
thank you
okay.
so much
Thanks for the extra
coming, Alan.
conversation.
Alan, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for coming by.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see you next
Nice to
month.
see you guys.
Are we gonna try to do July?
Sometimes
think-
we've taken July off, haven't we?
Just because there's the 2 holidays in between.
This year, the 4th is on a Monday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will, we'll have Brian